Hi, I'm Hillary Raimo, and today I am very excited about our show. My special guest is Barbra Gilman, author of The Unofficial Guide for Living Successfully on Planet Earth, and contributing author of An Indigo Celebration. Barbra Gilman has over 30 years' experience as a therapist and coach, and was the Director of Family Education for Neil Donald Walsh's Heartlight Education, a certified parent educator and trainer with the International Network for Children and Families. Barbra developed, teaches, and trains others to facilitate conscious parenting for a new paradigm. For more information about Barbra, visit her website, barbragilman.com. If you would like to call in with a question regarding conscious parenting or indigo children, the number to call is 888-235-7374, and you are welcome to send me as many and quick messages as you like on achieveradio.com, and Barbra and I will answer them live on the show. Before we begin, I would like to say a thank you to my show sponsor, A Peaceful Place Massage and Wellness Center. For more information about them, visit their site, apeacefulplace.com. I would also like to announce that there is still room and time to register for my Spring Equinox Celebration Tour to Egypt. For more information, you can visit my website, my radio homepage right here on Achieve Radio, or call 954-972-5891. And of course, a great big thank you and wave of love to all of my listeners worldwide, as far away as Switzerland. Thank you for being here with me. I would love to hear from you. Send me your stories, your aha moments, and share the message of hope and inspiration with me. I love to hear your feedback. To all of you out there, I send you all love and light, and this show is ultimately dedicated to all of you. Without further delay, I would like to introduce Miss Barbra Gilman. Welcome, Barbra.
Good to be here, and it's wonderful knowing that you're out there doing this wonderful work.
Well, I have to say, it's people like you that inspired me along my life path to do this work. And years ago, I visited, and I participated in one of your presentations at the Montessori right here in central New York. And you have always been a guiding light for me, so it's a personal honor to meet you. And I'm very excited about our show. And as a mom of two beautiful, bright kids that keep me very, very active, it's going to be a great topic for us to discuss. So, Barbra, I'd like to start by asking you, what made you decide to write about the topic of conscious parenting?
Well, years ago, working as a therapist and not traditional metaphysical, I, clearly saw that whatever the reasons that adults were coming to me for whatever they considered success, I always had a clientele of basically healthy people who just wanted more in life, wanted a spiritual connection. I actually came in as I would, a forerunner of these, quote, new children, as many of the light workers. So I had this information basically all my life, and I was able to sort of see beyond what most of the adults in my life were seeing. And so I was always very interested in what made people sort of be who they were. I was reading Freud, I think, in 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And nothing really made sense for me, even with the background of psychology, until I went through a traumatic divorce in my own life in my 20s, and that's when I found metaphysics, and everything then made absolute sense. It was like looking at something that I knew in my heart, in my soul was real, but I never had a label for it. Mm-hmm. I never had a label for all the experiences I had when I was young, and I would be, quote, channeling, but not knowing it. So I had adults coming to me asking questions, and I would answer them. And I just thought, oh, well, I'm mature. My friends are all 10 years older than I am. And it made sense until, of course, later on I understood. So doing the work as a metaphysical therapist, going back almost 40 years ago, people would come looking for their spiritual alignment, and it seemed like a lot of that which had happened in their lives, of course, had happened in childhood, irrespective of going back to past lives, which we also did. But And just looking at that, I thought, wow, okay, well, if so much of this is happening in childhood, what do we actually, how can I sort of like help this? What would work? And I said, well, I could work with children. And if I work with children, then maybe I could give them an understanding of who they really are, which they sort of maybe forgot or, based on with their parents. And anyway, I started working with children. And what I realized is that they were like sponges. They were absorbing everything, everything having to do with what we now call the secret, which, of course, we all know that, information goes back to probably the beginning of time, but I definitely have books in the 1800s. And just getting them into that place where they would start to remember. And they would just, whatever the parents sent them to me for, whether it was their schoolwork or the parents were divorced and they just needed some ways to deal with what had happened in the family, or they moved and now they needed new social skills, and the children would just listen, absorb, and it was like, wow, magically everything started happening. So I started to push it a little bit and try to go a little further, and what I started to realize was that the children could only go as far as the parents' belief systems would allow them. And that was very intriguing. And so I looked at that and I said, okay, well, then I guess the work is back with the parents. And I started to look around and see what did we actually do in the world of parenting, what was out there for parents. And I found, and this is going back about 15 years ago, I found that there was very little. And I did some research, and I found some work that was based on Rudolf Streicher's work, and it was a family therapist in Gainesville, Florida, Kath Coles, and she put together a very nice foundational program. And I met her, and we became friends. And basically, I said, look, this work is great, but it doesn't speak for what my work is about. It doesn't go into the spiritual. It doesn't go into the energetic. It doesn't go into where I believe our young people are sort of coming from now. And I sort of sensed all along that there was this change. And so I simply asked if I could take a part of her work and blend it with my work, which was always basically the work of The Secret and all the universal principles, and going even further or deeper into what we now know of as The Secret. My book, as you said, The Unofficial Guide for Living Successfully on Planet Earth, I wrote 15 years ago, and it's actually The Secret plus a little bit more. And she said absolutely, because she had an indigo child at that time, although we didn't have that name for it, and she understood what I was speaking about. So I then created the Conscious Parenting for New Paradigm course, which I actually believe that I was probably one of the first people to coin the term conscious parenting at that time. And so I started working with parents and realizing that once you start to have the parents understanding not so much of what it's like to, quote, parent the child, but more of what it would be like to start parenting themselves. In other words, going back and healing their own childhood wounds. And once I started to experience the changes in the dynamics of the families that I was working with, it was really clear to me that that was the missing link. And that's how I started, in the beginning with the conscious parenting. It was just really having the adults wake up and understanding how important it was for them to become conscious of who they were and how they related to their world, to the planet, to the universe. And so we started seeing a lot of changes at that time. And from that work, I was introduced to Lee Carroll and Jan Tober, and that was right when they were doing the first book. And I met with them, and they heard about my work, and at lunch, Cryon, who is the entity that Lee channels, came through and told Jan that she needed to speak with me because I had a missing link for the indigo concept. And that was, of course, that these children were coming in as the teachers of the parents. And that's basically how I got to write for the second indigo book. And
Barbara, would you consider yourself an indigo child?
Well, Hillary, to tell you the truth, I don't like labels. I never did. Mm-hmm. And so when people ask me, as a matter of fact, right before I got on with you, I had an email from a young woman. I didn't even get to the bottom of the letter, but someplace in Indonesia in her 20s, and asking if she was an indigo. And I get these letters all the time. What I say to parents and what I say to the young adults is it really doesn't matter what label we come up with. The bottom line is we are in the process of evolution. As we know, we don't walk around, with loincloths and sticks of fire anymore unless it's Halloween, hopefully. And so we are in the process, and it's ongoing. Mm-hmm. This clearly, I think, is the most marked change that we've really ever seen. And if you speak to, teachers who've been teaching for 30 years or grandparents or whatever, people are really totally aware now that these children are different. But as far as the labels, you could read 10 different books and get 10 different, a crystal child is this, and an indigo child is this, and a star child is this. And the bottom line is, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that right now we are living in a very exciting world that is changing so quickly. And in order to really fulfill what we all came here to do, we need to just be open to the possibilities that whatever we believed as a society previously could very well be like, oh, you know what? That never was. It was a lie to begin with. Things really didn't work before, and maybe if we, open ourselves up to possibilities of change, then the world could be different. And that's really what I like to put out there. It's like, it doesn't matter what your child is, okay? What matters is that we cannot keep creating and doing what we did in the past, because it never worked. It didn't even work for my generation. And it can't possibly work for these new kids. So it's like, okay, so, we have to look at the fact that these children are heralding in a new humanity. They're the forerunners of new genetics. Everything is about to change. It's changing as we speak. And I know just with all the calls and all the information you're sharing with everyone on, who listens to your programs, we can all be witness to the fact that, things are changing so quickly. It's like, when I do most of my work is national, and when I travel, people will introduce me as an expert, simply because I've been doing this longer than most people around. And the first thing I say is, there are no experts. I mean, I don't care how many initials people have after their name, there are no experts anymore, because we're in a whole new territory. All of the maps have been burnt. There's nothing that we can look at in the past and say, oh, you know what? This happened in the past, and I guess we can pretty much assume it's going to continue that way. I mean, look at the weather.
It's true. That's true.
Nothing is the same, and that's the exciting part. I mean, that to me is like, wow, isn't it exciting to think that everything is really getting so much better? I mean, I know it's easy to look around and get sort of, negative or fear-based. Of course, that's the energy of the planet that we've been living on. But it's really so exciting to think of when these new children are sort of running our world, and, you know, it's like I say, an 8-year-old child today is like a 15 or 16-year-old child when I was young. So in a few more years, we'll probably have, like, you know, 18-year-olds running our world. And how, you know, I mean, wow, how exciting.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these kids aren't going to stand for what we have been taking all these years. And if you just look at the world now, and I'm not going to get into politics, but I think we've been allowing a lot of things to continue that someone should have stopped a while ago, and the someone is us.
You're listening to the Hillary Raimo Show. We will be right back after this short station break. Hello, I'm Hillary Raimo, host of Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio. I want to personally invite you to join me in Egypt for my Equinox Initiation Tour. Come with me and walk the sands of the ancient Egyptians, explore the temples of the mystery schools, celebrate the origins of life as we sail the Nile. Together we will reconnect to our true selves in the higher dimensions. Now more than ever, we are being asked to step up and take our power, to heal our wounds and discover our true essence as spiritual beings living a human experience. Travel with me to Egypt and reawaken to your true self. Give yourself the gift of something truly extraordinary. I personally invite you to walk the sands of our ancestors in a ceremonial and sacred way, surrounded by fellow kindred spirits from around the world on a once-in-a-lifetime journey. I truly hope you will consider joining me.
Brought to you by the Hillary Raimo Show, Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio, heard every Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m., right here on AchieveRadio.com. For more information on how to join Hillary on her Equinox Initiation Tour, please go to www.hillaryraimo.com or call 518-376-2503 for more information. 518-376-2503. Call today, 518-376-2503.
Are you interested in the benefits of alternative therapies such as massage, acupuncture, or chiropractic, but aren't quite comfortable taking the plunge? How about an alternative to the alternative? I'm Lauren Baldigo, a New York State licensed massage therapist. I'd like to introduce you to therapeutic massage and bodywork techniques in a comfortable and relaxing atmosphere. Discover the wonderful world of wellness at apeacefulplace.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Hillary Raimo. As we heal our own wounds, we become better examples of living according to our highest potential. The better relationship we have with ourselves, the better our relationships with others, including our children. You are listening to the Hillary Raimo Show, Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio. And for all of you just joining me, I am speaking with author Barbra Gilman, who wrote The Unofficial Guide for Living Successfully on Planet Earth. And we are discussing conscious parenting and the indigo child. Welcome back, everyone. Barbara, before we went to break, we were talking about how it's an exciting change. And you know what I'd like to say to that wonderful statement is the fact that when fear comes into our experience, it changes absolutely everything that we experience. And when we're working with kids, in fact, you know, it's very interesting that we're talking about this topic tonight because in my first past life regression was when I was 5 years old with my grandfather, and I've shared that with my listeners. Some of them have heard me say that before, and it changed my experience of living from that day forward. And it brought something into my life that was very, very much an awareness of something else besides what I was experiencing, you know, in everyday life in the physical. But what happened was my parents, loved them greatly, just were not ready and not able to handle the changes. So I thought it would be something we could talk about at this point is, you know, for those people out there who are parenting, how do they notice, how do they know that their child is in fact, you know, one of these changed special angels, I like to call them. And where do they start? Where do they start with trying to rework? You had mentioned that they start by going back and healing their own childhoods. But what would be a cue that they would need to do that? What would you say would be one of the things they need to look for?
Well, the main thing, and that's what my course is really all about, it's actually stop focusing on your children, as bizarre as that might sound for parenting, and start focusing on yourself as the parent, as the adult. Because these children come in and they're totally plugged into source, okay? It's like they know who they are, they know why they're here, they know they're connected to their mission, their soul mission. When I work with adults who come to me, for private sessions or workshops that I do in the community or nationally, basically these are people who understand that they're spiritual beings, or at least they want to find out that they're spiritual beings, and they want more. They want a certain fulfillment that most people are lacking in today's world. And no matter how successful in the terms of today's world, meaning money, power, houses, cars, these people might have, they still feel empty inside. There's something that they know is missing. Those are the people that I basically work with. So when they come to me, my job is to help them raise their frequency, to become more conscious. Everything that I do is about consciousness, helping people to raise their consciousness. Once they do, it's like taking it's like having this magnificent home in the most gorgeous part of the world with ponds and oceans and floral arrangements and gardens and everything that's gorgeous, and it's all shut up. The windows are closed, the doors are closed, there's no air, it's just dark in there. And this is how most people live. And the thing is, they're not aware of it because that's the space that they're living from. They don't have a clue that they're spiritual beings, and in being spiritual beings, they have an incredible array of gifts that once they start using them, open them up to realms that they don't even know exist right now. Well, that's who these children are, and when they come in, they know it. They're there. There's absolutely nothing that we really need to do. Once in a while, you'll have some babies or some young ones coming in, and they're still very attached to past life stuff. And so then you might need to have them, work with an energy healer and just help them to release that. And as soon as that happens, they're just like, okay, they're back to exactly who they are in this lifetime, and once again, fully connected. And so the thing is, it's not the children we want to focus on, because as we've been focusing on these children, because unfortunately, I hate to say this, but because of our ignorance, we look at them based on the past, based on what we think is what a human being is supposed to be, made up of all the stories that we've created, and we look at them and we say there's something wrong with them. And then we come up with, which is what we do, we need to come up with a story that we can understand so it makes our lives easy. So we come up with these ADD, ADHD, and every other label that we can put on them. And it's like, oh, okay, well, life is easy now. I know what's wrong with this child, and now all we have to do is give them some drugs, and life is then wonderful. Well, as I say, ADD is adults demanding drugs to make their life easier. But we're rendering these children absolutely useless.
Yeah.
So we're basically creating another level of the dysfunction that we all came in with.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like taking the incredible gifts that they have to change our world so that they will not allow the fear-based energy that has been guiding this planet for so long to keep perpetuating. That's why they're here. The indigos are the ones that have that warrior spirit. They have that warrior spirit because that is what is needed to shut down that fear-based living that we've all been doing. They're here to make way for those love-based, whether you want to call them the star children, the rainbow children, the crystal children, the ones, who literally are vibrating at such a high frequency of love that, a lot of them simply cannot survive on such a fear-based planet. So as far as the children, everything is exactly as need be. The problem is with the adults, and that's what my work centers on. How do you get the adults to start realizing who they are? And once you start doing that, once you start helping them to take back their power, to start connecting, it's like the Energizer bunny without the batteries. Once you start getting them energized with Source, so they know who they are, now you're putting them on the same page or close to the same frequency as their children. So now the children's behavior, the children's words, the children's energy can be received by the adults. Without that, the adults cannot receive these children. They cannot honor them. They cannot allow them to be their authentic selves. So what they're doing is they're just zapping their power, just exactly like most of our parents did with us. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see all the, quote, behavior problems, all the power struggles on this planet right now. Because we've been a people who have been living without the connection that makes us who we are. Most people have no clue of who they are. They actually believe they're physical beings, and they're just like running this story where they have to go to work, they have to make money, they have to do this and this and this and this and this and this, and then all of the chaos that's in everyone's lives right now. Mm-hmm. And the chaos is being created by the agenda of the powers that be, which I will not get into on this call.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show. But it's like we all bought into it, and now we're so stressed out. We live in pure chaos and fear, and, if you look around, most people will think we're probably in the worst times ever. And the bottom line is, I look at it sort of like Mother Earth is sort of, and of course the other realms above, around, inner, mm-hmm. are creating what I said in my book is like sort of menopause. Mother Earth is like in the state of menopause, where it's like doing this cleansing. Mm-hmm. And the cleansing is, unfortunately, sometimes it slams some people into the wall at 500 miles an hour, and it actually could end up being a good thing, because sometimes people need that awakening. And I'm not saying that that's, the only way we can grow and change, but, our guides, our angels, all of our energetic teams that we have out there are always whispering to us. And after they whisper, they start yelling. And after they're yelling, sometimes they have to bang us around. And that's what's happening on the planet right now. It's like, okay, people, it's like saying you're going on the plane and you can only take 50 pounds. You can't take any more, otherwise the plane's not going to get off the ground. Well, that's where we are right now. We're going to a new place, an energetic place, and it's incredible because we're starting to get in touch with who we really are and the gifts that we have and the magnificence of the fact that we're all connected and all the wonderful stuff. But unless you have the vibration to go there, you're not going, which means you have to get rid of the baggage. And
so in other words, you have to do the work, and it's about doing the work, and we just can't move forward without doing that work. And the older we are, it seems that we have more accumulated stuff, perhaps?
Yes, and I can tell you, my mom, who passed this in November at 94, she went through independent living, assisted living, and nursing homes, and I went through that with her for 3 years, and I can tell you that whatever stuff that we have, okay, it only gets worse as you get older. So if you have martyr stuff, victim stuff, anger stuff, whatever, not good enough, it all just, it like exponentially grows to a point where it gets very ugly. So it's like, you know, this is a great time. The universe is giving us an incredible energy, okay? The energies on the planet right now are so incredible to do our work. And the thing is that, you know, that word work is a dirty word.
It sure is. It
it's
sure
like
is.
People will say, you know, when they work with me, they get homework. I'm sorry for the word. You know, someone said, well, make it play work. Okay, it could be play work. For me, it's play work. But the thing is, without doing it, nothing changes.
Yeah.
You can't expect to go out there and read some books or take a course or whatever, and then come home and put the book or the notes or whatever into your junk drawer in the kitchen and think that something is going to change. You might have a new vocabulary that when you're at a party or a picnic you can sort of like throw around. Yes, that is a possibility. But again, you know, as Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body, and my significant other, Randy Opitz, who is like an absolutely incredible energy healer. People come from all over the world to work with him. People who are literally given, you know, their doctors send them home to make burial arrangements, and he's just a miracle worker. And it's, you know, it's like the same thing. You know, the people who are willing to do the work, to do the breathing, they work with him, they work with me, and it's like miracles happen. I mean, miracles that I've never seen before. It's quite amazing. But these are people who have been slammed into the wall at 500 miles an hour. They have no other options, so they're willing to do the work. But you don't want to have to get to that place. You don't have to want to, you know, you don't want to be slammed into a wall at 500 miles an hour. The thing is, right now in your life, if you as a human being, as a parent, it doesn't matter, just as a human being on this planet, there's so much information out there right now. When I was young growing up, I mean, I would travel. I lived in the city, Manhattan. I would go from Manhattan to Los Angeles, back and forth to study with my spiritual teacher. And there was so little at the time. You know, there was one bookstore in Manhattan that sold the kind of books now that we have 3 aisles filled in every bookstore. So there's just so much out there, and you don't have to read every one, because even though they all say a little, you know, everything is a little bit different, it's all the same stuff. Mm-hmm. You can go back to the books from 1800, it's all the same stuff. So it's not so much how many books and how many courses and how many teachers, it's a question of what are you doing in your life to raise your consciousness? What are you doing to look at your story and realize this is just a story that I have? And I can take that story, that script, burn it up, and then start deciding what story do I want? Who do I want to be? And then start being it. Start living. As I say, go for peace, love, and joy. Forget about the money. Forget about the relationship. Forget about the cars, the houses. Forget about the kids. Just go for peace, love, and joy. And when you start going for that vibration and you're willing to do the work, then everything just falls into alignment, because when you raise your frequency, you know, as I say, it's like you're living on, you're in Manhattan and you're living in a building that has 30 floors and you're living on the 5th floor. You only have access to all of the apartments on that 5th floor. So you can go into those apartments, you could look around, you could read the books, you can talk to the people, you know, you could find your guy or your girl or whatever, your teacher. But it's only on the 5th floor, because that's where you live. if you want anything other than that's on that fifth floor, okay, then you have to go to that next floor. And, of course, the floor is going to be above you. Mm-hmm. So you have to get into the elevator or walk up the steps. So anything that you want in your life right now that you do not have, whether it's peace, love, the Mercedes, the relationship, the health, it's on a different floor, and you do not have access to it. So you have to raise your vibration, which is like going in the elevator, and now you end up on the 10th or the 20th floor. And now you have all of these new doors and new stories and new people, and life is totally different. And that's the work.
Barbara, on that note, for everybody just joining us, we're speaking with Barbra Gilman, author of the Unofficial Guide for Living Successfully on Planet Earth. We will be right back after this station break. Hello, I'm Hillary Raimo, host of Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio. I want to personally invite you to join me in Egypt for my Equinox Initiation Tour. Come with me and walk the sands of the ancient Egyptians, explore the temples of the mystery schools, celebrate the origins of life as we sail the Nile. Together we will reconnect to our true selves in the higher dimensions. Now more than ever, we are being asked to step up and take our power, to heal our wounds and discover our true essence as spiritual beings living a human experience. Travel with me to Egypt and reawaken to your true self. Give yourself the gift of something truly extraordinary. I personally invite you to walk the sands of our ancestors in a ceremonial and sacred way, surrounded by fellow kindred spirits from around the world on a once-in-a-lifetime journey. I truly hope you will consider joining me.
Brought to you by the Hillary Raimo Show, Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio, heard every Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m., right here on AchieveRadio.com. For more information on how to join Hillary on her Equinox Initiation Tour, please go to www.hillaryraimo.com or call 518-376-2503 for more information. 518-376-2503. Call today, 518-376-2503.
Health professionals recommend myofascial release for connective tissue conditions as well as chronic inflammatory disorders. Having been a New York State licensed massage therapist for over 15 years, Virginia Tui has had the experience to hone her skills and become an advanced therapist in myofascial release. For more information on how myofascial release can help you, visit our website at apeacefulplace.com.
Welcome back, everyone. What is it that keeps you from singing that you are indeed a miracle, a rare expression of higher consciousness in living biological form? When one ceases to feel the connectedness of life, it is simply a forgetting of who you really are. Remembering we are indeed higher consciousness fills the void of our perceived shortcomings, and the illusion of imperfection disappears and leaves behind the true and perfect state of our divine being. You're listening to the Hillary Raimo Show, Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio. Welcome back, everyone. I am speaking with Barbra Gilman, author of the Unofficial Guide for Living Successfully on Planet Earth, and we are talking about conscious parenting and indigo children and much, much more. You know, Barbara, I'd like to get your thoughts on autism because there's such a large influx of autism in the world today, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I tell you, I'm still not 100% sure, which of course I'm not on anything, nor will I ever be. A lot of the children who are coming in that are being, labeled with autism, I believe, is from vaccinations. And that I've believed for a long time. I met a number of years ago with Dr. Len Horowitz, who is a Harvard-trained doctor who was working for the government in World Health, and years ago, by spirit, was led into the libraries, which ones I don't remember, underneath, in underground in Washington, and he was led to the government documentation proving that the children's vaccinations were contaminated. And his work is out there. Dr. Len Horowitz, I think his website is tetrahedron.com. And just knowing him and listening to stories upon stories, I have always believed that, a very great percentage of that is the autism, has created the autism. It also has, I believe, I've worked with a number of parents of children who the children were diagnosed with autism early stages. And one of the things that actually started to happen with the knowledge of a lot of these children come in, and because they are so psychic and they communicate with each other on the electromagnetic grid of our planet, so they communicate without words. And a lot of the babies that are coming in, and in the parenting classes that my team teaches, we tell parents that beside, speaking verbally, what they need to do is let their little infants or children know that the children are communicating with the parents, but they're not doing it verbally. And so when the children are not getting responses from the parents, it's like very confusing to them, and they don't know how to work around it. And then after a while, they sort of stop trying. Now, I'm not saying this is I don't know what percentage. I wouldn't even go there. But I've met many, many people and many other friends who work with autistic children have come up with the same stories. And this is just a percentage. But a lot of these babies are telepathically communicating and getting no responses. So we tell all of the parents, as with your children, just mention to them, you have a little infant that you're changing their diaper, and as you're communicating with them verbally, just mention that, Mommy knows that you're communicating in your language or telepathically or whatever. I don't, I guess whatever words the parent would feel comfortable about speaking. But Mommy doesn't know that language yet. She's willing to learn, but you have to be patient. And we've heard just incredible stories when parents are willing to sort of go into the child's world and start telepathically communicating, even though they're not getting answers yet. And some of them actually start refining that spiritual gift, and then they start communicating that way with the children. So that's another little aspect of what's going on with these children. And then all of a sudden, once they start getting that communication from the parents, even verbally, just stating that, I know you're communicating with me, but Mommy doesn't speak that language, at least they know that, okay, it's not like these people, it's like I'm on this alien planet, and how come no one is communicating with me? So that's something that I've seen that I think is very interesting. But other than, the fact that I believe the vaccinations play a tremendous role here, I'm sure there are other things that we haven't discovered yet. And that's the whole key in this whole thing, in this whole arena with parenting, with the children. We don't know. All of the early childhood development work, one of my lead facilitators has her PhD in early childhood development, and it's like, she's like totally aware now that so much of that work is like we can't put it on these children. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's like we have to sort of hang out and wait and learn as we go. And that's why being open to every possibility that your child can show you or speak to you is so important now. And that's really the critical place for parents right now, is just to be open to these children, to sort of forget anything that they know about children and just say, hey, I'm going to go along on this ride, and it's going to be exciting, and we're going to take one moment at a time, because there are no preconceived expectations. There are no judgments. It's just allowing these children to walk their path right into their destiny, and they will be teaching us the most incredible gifts if we can just allow ourselves to get out of that old paradigm of, the children should be seen and not heard kind of belief.
It's kind of like we have to change our ingrained parenting techniques that were passed on from generation to generation and let it all go and create our own blank slate like you were talking about before. And that includes letting go of our own wounds. In fact, when I work with my own clients, that's one of the biggest things that I've seen, as well as other people in the fields, that it's a really big issue globally. And if we can just learn how to do that, and these children, you know, whatever the cause of autism, I have worked with children with autism in my own practice. It's still about communication, and it's about, you know, connecting and trying to understand their world. I loved how you put that, because that's exactly what I have experienced myself as well, working with my clients of all different ages and of all different spectrums. So that's an interesting, thank you for saying that. The DNA changes. What do you think about DNA? You know, for me, it's been my experience that DNA opens, and as we begin to allow the openings of our DNA centers and new things into our awareness, our psychic abilities enhance, and so on and so forth. Do you believe that these kids are coming? Well, do you think that these kids are coming in with DNA changes?
Yes, I definitely do. And the other part, which is why, again, I have to say it doesn't matter, because at this point, we don't. You see, you know, it's like we're in the time right now where we're changing from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. We're in the cusp of it. So the old is going out and the new is coming in. And any time you live in that kind of period, there's chaos, because the old doesn't want to change, the new doesn't want to be part of the old, and you have this struggle. So right now we have a story, which was the old story, that we live a physical life. We have physical stories, okay? I have a cold because I went out with wet hair when it was 30 degrees, and I got a cold, okay? Everything is physical. My husband did this, and I felt this, and that's why my job. I mean, we always have a physical reason and a story, but that's not the reality. The reality is, as you even say on your opening to your show, we're spiritual beings. We are having a physical lifetime, but we're spiritual beings, meaning we're beings of energy. It's all about energy. And so on the energetic realms, which is the only reality, the only thing that's real, we don't have the devices and the instruments and we don't have the measurements to see and prove to those, quote, scientific left-brain minds that these things are real. Now, in my world, I don't need it because I can feel it or I can see it, with a different kind of seeing. But so right now to say, well, the DNA is changing and the auras and this and that, for most people it's like, well, I can't see it, or prove it to me. So it's like, that's why I don't even like to go there. It's like, this is what is. If you're willing to accept it and say, life is changing, we need to get on with it. We need to start believing. We need to start working on the fact that we are spiritual beings. And as I say to people, just try it. Try just working, whether you start meditating, whether you start whatever it is, whatever book, whatever course, just allow your higher self or your soul to guide you someplace and start doing a little bit of the work. And you'll start to feel your energy. And you'll start to feel other people's energy, and you'll start to realize that we're not attracted or things don't happen on the physical level. That's just the stories we tell. Start looking to the energetic world, the energetic realms, where the magic is, and then life becomes magical. Allow yourself to be guided by your children. And in the beginning, just do it as play. Just say, hey, you know what? We're playing a game. Let's play by the rules of the game. So it's like I say, we live on a planet where we play Monopoly with Parcheesi rules. You can't win. So go into your child's world and start playing with them from where they are. So when they say, Mommy, I remember when you were my daddy and we lived in houses that looked like triangles on the desert, instead of saying, oh, don't be ridiculous, that was a dream, or any other of 100 different stories, say, wow, that sounds exciting. Tell me more. Just get in their world and allow yourself to be immersed in the magic of it.
Barbara, we have a caller, Renee from Pennsylvania. Renee, you're on the line.
Yes, I am, and it's a wonderful, exciting show.
Thank you, Renee. Good to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. And what is I'm thinking of adopting, and I know some of the children will be the new children, and I'd love to understand them, and I'm working on myself now. What do you think would be how you would pick them, or or you meet them and they just light up and you say, oh, this is the one, and I want to treat them well and I want them to be happy.
Well, it's first of all, even when you adopt a child, okay, it's all been set up ahead of time. So in other words, whether it's your biological child or whether it's your adopted child, those are all choices that we make before we even come into a lifetime. So that's the child that was meant for you. That was the child that you chose and that they chose you before you even got here. It's like that part is planned already. So it's just a question of your trusting in the universe, trusting that the story was scripted before you got here, and now just be excited on your journey to receive this child. So I would start literally communicating with the child right now and just telling it how excited you are. You're speaking to the soul of your child, and I'm sure that they're there with you already, and just start welcoming it. Share your dreams and your excitement and what life, what you're looking towards and how you want to learn from them. And just start really working with that vibration and putting it out there. And then their energies and your energies it'll be magnetic. It'll just, you'll be just brought right to that child, or that child will be brought right into your arms.
Oh, that's wonderful, because I've been doing that because I kind of wanted a little village. I wanted more than a few.
Renee, you sound like you have a big heart, and you could probably raise a little village.
Yes, I wanted them from every city and every country.
Well, there are plenty out there that need you.
Great question, Renee. Thank you so much for your call.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a wonderful show. Many blessings to both of you, and keep up the good work.
Many blessings to you, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara, we have about 1 minute before the end of our show. If you could sum up in one sentence or two to every listener out there tonight, what would be your advice to people in regards to what we've talked about?
Start finding out who you really are. Start going for the joy, the love, and the peace in your life. Let everything else just go for a while. Focus on only that which is working, and then just allow the magic to bring you everything that your heart has been desiring ever since you came here.
Barbara, thank you so much for joining us. For more information about Miss Gilman's work, you can visit barbragilman.com. There is a link on my radio homepage as well as my website, so you may contact her if you have any further questions regarding what we've spoken about tonight. I'm Hillary Raimo, host of Matters for Mind, Body, and Spirit Talk Radio. Don't forget that this and all my past shows are available anytime on my archive page. Until next time, everyone, live well. Namaste.